The Bruins doused the Flames after very nearly getting burnt.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked Bee. Today is Friday, November 8th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your day. Free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Before we get started, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. You can find me, my hockey thoughts, dad jokes at Ian C. McLaren. Last night gave Blue Sky a try, working through the Bruins game over there. Good community of Bruins fans gathering there, so check that out as well. Today on the podcast, we are going to discuss the storylines, stats, and signals from last night's 4-3 overtime win over the Calgary Flames. Later on, we will preview Saturday's game against the Ottawa Senators. Again, I want to thank you for joining me. My name, again, is Ian McLaren. I am a lifelong Bruins fan. I've been covering this team for various outlets for 20 years now. Was a full-time hockey news editor at The Score and have been hosting this podcast since 2019. In fact, I received a beautiful Locked On backpack yesterday in the mail to celebrate 5 years here with the network. Now, last night, the big storyline, of course, was Brad Marchand scoring the overtime winner to give the Bruins the 4-3 win. Marchand, so clutch. He's one of the best players in NHL history when it comes to overtime goals for the win. It was his 21st career overtime goal, the most in Bruins history, as well as top 3 in the NHL, tied with or in the same conversation as Alexander Ovechkin, who is on fire right now and close to breaking Wayne Gretzky's goal record, and with Sidney Crosby. So 2 of the greats all time, and just continues to prove that he will one day be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. His 21st career overtime goal, most in Bruins history, 3rd most among all players, behind Ovechkin, who's got 26, and Crosby, who's got 22. So he's 1 behind Crosby there for 2nd place. All 3 guys still active, of course. He has 79 game-winning goals, 3rd behind Johnny Busick, who has 88, and Patrice Bergeron, who has 81, and that is in Bruins history. Just a great effort from the captain, who has been playing very well as of late, and has really helped this team to gain some confidence here over the last few games. Now, I have to give credit here to Elias Lindholm as well. And one of the signals we'll talk about a bit later on is kind of the Bruins needing some time to gel with all these new faces. Lindholm, Marchand have been playing very well as of late together. And Lindholm had some great passes and looks last night. He had that one pass to David Pastrnak that he timed off the boards to get right to Pasta for a breakaway opportunity. In overtime, it was like 36 seconds remaining in the game. And the Bruins had a defensive zone faceoff that was won by Lindholm, and the Bruins were able to generate an opportunity and get a faceoff in the offensive zone because of that faceoff win. Now, Lindholm then lost that ensuing faceoff, but he went immediately to the back of the net to force a turnover, sent it back in front to Marchand, who had his initial shot stopped, but then he was able to bang it in on the rebound. And Marchand said Lindholm did a great job pursuing the puck after the faceoff. He started jumping on the defense, pounced on it, did a great job winning that battle, and put it out front. The rest is history. So there were two key moments there in overtime, late in overtime, a very exciting overtime period. Lindholm winning that faceoff late. If he had lost that faceoff with 30 seconds left, Flames get possession. Who knows what they're able to generate there in the dying seconds. Instead, he wins the faceoff. The Bruins gain possession, head down the ice, create an opportunity. And then even though he lost that final faceoff, he was dogged on the puck, got a turnover, got it out to Marchand in front, and just a fantastic effort for Lindholm, although it was Marchand who ended up getting the game winner. But it would not have happened without that faceoff win and without Lindholm's determination there. Another new face who jumped in and played very well last night, a key contributor, was Joonas Korpisalo. He made 34 saves, particularly strong in the second period. The Bruins did, of course, allow Calgary to tie the game in the third period. But Korpisalo was very, very strong on this night. The one Tyson Barrie goal, perhaps, should have been stopped. Even Kelly Rudy on the Flames broadcast that I was watching said that's not a goal that is scored very often in today's NHL. But Korpisalo did a lot to keep the Bruins in this one. He played very, very well. And if you take away his season opening start against the Florida Panthers, his numbers are actually pretty strong for the Boston Bruins. And again, I always look back at Linus Ullmark. When he joined the Bruins, it took him some time to get acclimated to the system, to the team, to the locker room. And then we all know where he went from there once he got settled and once goalie coach Bob Essensa was able to work his magic. Korpisalo, his overall numbers don't necessarily show it. But again, if you take away that opening night game against the Panthers, maybe give him a mulligan on that, his save percentage was raised last night from .895 to an even .900, 2.72 goals against average so far. So pretty respectable numbers. And it all points to, maybe it's just taking some of these new faces some time to get used to the system. Marchand even said, it takes time to get a read on a new center. It takes time to know where each other is going to be, where they're going to put the puck. It all points to gelling, coming together, and perhaps staying the course is the way forward here for the Boston Bruins. It's not a perfect lineup. There are deficiencies, especially up front and on defense now with Andrew Peeke listed as week to week with an injury. Parker Witherspoon stepped in. Mason Lohrei is going to have more of a consistent role. They were kind of swapping in and out. But especially up front, although Tyler Johnson has looked good on the line with Pavel Zacha and David Pastrnak, the second line now of Marchand, Lindholm, and Brazeau, with Coyle being bumped down to the third line. Perhaps that's a recipe for success. As we know, maybe Coyle's better suited for the third line. He played with Cole Koepke, Matt Poitras. Trent Frederick was bumped down to the fourth line for last night's game. But at the end of the day, the Bruins' key players stepped up. Marchand, Lindholm, and Korpisalo. And that, to me, the big storyline, of course, was Marchand's heroics once again. But Lindholm stepping up, as well as Korpisalo, those were kind of secondary big storylines for the Bruins, because we know that they need that two-headed monster in net to succeed. especially with Swayman not quite living up to his elite status at the moment. To get 3 straight really good performances from Korpisalo, it's really encouraging to see. We'll take a look at some stats and more signals from this game here as the podcast continues. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints, Viagra, Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. That's hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable, compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See the website for details and important safety information. I cannot wait to go to a concert later on this month to see the Arkells for the second time in just about a calendar year, and I was able to get great tickets both times using the Game Time app. Your number one choice for tickets for live events, sports, comedy, theater, concerts near you. They have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. All-in pricing, you can toggle this feature so it shows the total up front, no surprise fees at checkout, and their ticketing coverage means your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today, because what time is it? It's game time. Let's take a quick look at some of the key stats from last night's overtime win over the Calgary Flames. At 5-on-5 in last night's game, the shot attempts were pretty much even, 46-44 in favor of the Flames. Shots were 28-25. Scoring chances were 21-20, all in favor of Calgary. But when it came to high danger chances, it was 8-7 in favor of the Bruins. Expected goals at 5-on-5 were 1.89 to 1.84 in favor of the Bruins. So very, very tight overall in terms of 5-on-5 play. The Bruins in all situations did have the advantage. 65-61, the shot attempts. Scoring chances were 38-37. Those were shots. Scoring chances were 37-32. So Bruins had 37 shots. 38 shots, 37 scoring chances, 16 high danger chances, and then expected goals was 3.75 to 2.74. So maybe there was a leaky one for each goalie, but overall, the result was what it should have been in favor of the Bruins. They had that defensive lapse in the final frame to allow Calgary to tie the game, which was pretty unfortunate. And it could have been a much different tone here on the podcast had the Bruins not gotten the extra point. Even getting that 1 point wouldn't have been good enough based on the fact they were up 3-1 after 2 periods and fully should have gotten both. And thankfully they did. Now, the Bruins' third period goal allowed, the first one by Igor Sharangovich, came off of a penalty taken by Brad Marchand, roughing against Martin Pospisil. Again, if he had taken that penalty, you let the Flames get back in this game. They tie it and then eventually go on to win, as opposed to Marchand taking that penalty. They score, and then he ends up scoring the overtime winner. A much different tone around the Bruins this morning and just in general on this podcast. But the fact is they were able to get the job done, and hopefully it's another learning moment for the captain, for the team, to please stay out of the box. Another 10 minutes of penalties accrued last night. The Flames went 1 for 3 on the power play. Boston went 0 for 2. So they killed, 66% of the power plays. Not fantastic. The Bruins did succeed in the faceoff circle last night. And again, that Lindholm win in overtime to get the puck to the other end of the ice was massive. When it comes to individual performances, Brad Marchand, again, can't talk enough about how great he played last night. 8 shots on goal to double the next closest Bruin, who was Elias Lindholm and David Pastrnak. 2 shots in the dying seconds, got the rebound, popped it in for the game-winning goal. When it comes to points last night, Pavel Zacha with a big goal and an assist, a 2-point night for him. Love to see him get more active on the score sheet. Pastrnak with 2 assists, although he's in a bit of a goal drought here, and we'd love to see him get going there soon. Korpisalo again, 34 saves on 37 shots, a .919 save percentage, raising it up to an even .900. And he's been playing extremely well over his past several starts. If you look at his game log, his past 5 starts, .919 save percentage. He had the shutout win over the Flyers, .867 against the Hurricanes. But that was in relief of Jeremy Swayman. So when we're talking about starts, he had that strong game against the Flyers in the loss, and then decent game against the Avalanche as well. 3 goals on 25 shots. But in particular, his last 3 starts have been excellent. .919 save percentage, 100 save percentage in the shutout, and .944 in the game against the Flyers. So hopefully that keeps going. Overall, in terms of the standings, and yeah, it's not too early to be looking at the standings. Last night, the Bruins, with the win, improved their record to 7-1, so they're back at even 500. Still only good for 5th in the Atlantic Division. Thankfully, the Senators are kind of dropping a bit here. We'll talk about them as we preview tomorrow night's game. But the Bruins, they've won, 3 out of their past 4 games now, trending in the right direction, but still need to put some wins together here to really get back in the thick of things. Not quite out of the woods, but when we're looking at signals to take away from last night's game, I mentioned it on social media this morning. Yes, the Bruins still have some deficiencies when it comes to their lineup. They're still, I don't necessarily think that Justin Brazeau is a top 6 forward. Trent Frederick really needs to be getting going here. There's still some guys who are not living up to expectations. There's still some deficiencies in the lineup, but it's also true that they needed time to get all the new faces acclimated to the locker room, the system. And we saw that come together a bit more last night with respect to Marchand and Lindholm. And hopefully these connections continue to strengthen and improve as time goes on. So that's a key thing that I'm taking away from last night's game. We will preview tomorrow night's game against Ottawa here as the podcast continues. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and you need to get on there for this weekend's NFL action. You can tackle all the action with FanDuel, and right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Take a look at all the NFL spreads for this weekend. Look at the over-under for the Bruins Senators tomorrow night. It's all available at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Boston Bruins, Ottawa Senators, Saturday night hockey. And you know what that means? We're likely looking at a Jeremy Swayman versus Linus Ullmark showdown. It was Anton Forsberg who got the start last night for the Senators. Korpisalo for the Bruins. So very, very likely that it will be a showdown between these two former Huggers. The Senators are coming off 2 straight losses. They're 4-6 over their past 10, losing to the Sabres. Last night, they lost to the New York Islanders, who have not been very good this season. And, you know, Linus Ullmark, looking at his numbers so far, he was injured to begin the season. He's played 6 games. 2-4 with a .892 save percentage. Conversely, for the Bruins, Jeremy Swayman, 4-5-1 with a .894 save percentage. So both guys uncharacteristically below 900 to begin the season. Perhaps they're missing each other. Perhaps it's it is a big adjustment for both guys. Obviously, there was the contract situation for Swayman where he missed all of training camp. For Ullmark, it's like Korpisalo, getting used to a new city, system, team. And again, he did struggle a bit to begin his tenure with the Bruins and then found himself more comfortable. Of course, he signed a contract extension that's equal to what Swayman is making, but doesn't kick in until next season. Don't forget. Anyways, the Bruins are coming into this one 4-5-1 over their past 10, but they've won 3 of their past 4 games. And right now it is Pastrnak, Marchand leading the way in terms of scoring over the past 5 games. Pastrnak with 5 points, all assists, however. I look at last night's game where he had I can't even remember the number of times I've said, Pasta, just shoot the puck this season. He had a steal in the offensive zone last night. He was going in with Tyler Johnson. And instead of feigning a pass and shooting, he actually tried to get the pass over and it was broken up. He needs to keep shooting, get some goals in, and regain some confidence there. Now, Senators are led in scoring over the past 5 games by Tim Stützle. However, it appears as though he was not practicing here on Friday morning, so he could be out of the lineup, although Shane Pinto could be back following an absence due to injury as well. When it comes to special teams for the Senators, they have a 4th ranked power play. So again, stay out of the box for the love of Gort. Their penalty kill, not super strong. They have 23rd ranked, 75.7% success rate. The Bruins power play is 30th. Penalty kill, 22nd. Again, special teams remain anything but for this team at the moment. Their defense isn't super great either. 3.27 goals allowed per game, 24th in the NHL for the Bruins. Senators, though, only at 23rd, allowing 3.23 goals per game. Ottawa does have a more effective offense, 3.46 goals per game, whereas the Bruins are only at 2.53. If we look at the practice lines here this morning for the Bruins, we have pretty much the same lines as last night. Johnson, Zacha, Pastrnak. Marchand, Lindholm, Brazeau, Kepke, Coyle, Patra, and then Beecher, Kostelic, Frederick, with Morgan Geekie acting as the scratch once again. Zadorov, McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlo, Lohrei, Witherspoon, with Swayman, the projected starter for tomorrow night. It's a big game for the Senators. Again, they are coming in 2 losses in a row, and they have fallen out of in the playoff range at the moment in terms of point percentage. They're 7th in the Atlantic, 462, just slightly behind the Sabres, who are at 464. The Bruins back into 500, and it would be fantastic if they could string a few wins together here, beginning with taking advantage of a struggling Ottawa Senators team. The Senators do have the 4th ranked offense in the Atlantic, scoring 7 more goals than the Bruins, and their goal differential is +3. The Bruins still at -11. And again, really need to string some wins along together here. All right, that is it for today's episode, my friends. A big win. Again, it could have been a much different tone and tenor on the podcast if Marchand had taken that penalty. The Flames scored, came back, and then eventually won it. Thank goodness for Lindholm's efforts, for Marchand's clutch finish once again, and some big saves from Korpisalo last night. Please do keep it going against Ottawa. The Bruins pretty familiar with Ullmark, so hopefully they can pick some of his weak spots in this one. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen this week, friends. A bit of a rough week, all things going on globally, personally, but it's so great to be able to talk about our favorite hockey team here. Do check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey Next, where Steal and Flip give you everything you need to get the advantage over your opponent this week. And please do subscribe on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day. Take care of yourselves, friends. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you here on Monday with a full recap of the weekend's action. If anything breaks over the weekend, I'll be sure to post a short over on YouTube. Peace.